So today we're going to talk about data governance using Azure Purview, and probably the both word data governance and Azure Purview might be a new thing for most of us, including me before some time. So I started working in a company which needs a data governance. So I was doing lots of R&D on it, on how to do uh, how to do a basically do a data governance, and then what are the tools available for the data governance. The whole point is data governance is not nothing but something you do with data. So right now people are using data for most of their businesses, and the business driven decisions are done using data, meaning the fact is taken, intuition is not right now is validated more. People are most needed to take decisions based on intuitions, and then support that with the data. Otherwise, your decisions or your proposal will be thrown off. So that is the way things are going. It is not used to be like that. Previously, the CEO will be having an intuition and he'll start working on that intuition and build a product. Whether it succeeds or not, it really doesn't matter. But in case of right now, even your CEO or any other person or even normal developer, you can use your intuitions to build a product or do any sort of custom related activities, but you should support that intuition with the data. So that is why the data governance is the major part that actually plays right now. It will help you to get your facts right, and also to adjust your assumptions and your correct on the way, on the path. So why data governance, right? So as I told you, the business decision should be taken, and why should I actually call it as data governance, or why should follow a process something called data governance to make sure that things are in place? Okay, the main thing is consistent data. So when you take an enterprise level data, there are multiple data that comes in, right? The same customer who's part of sales and marketing will be the same customer will be in sales, the same customer will be in marketing, he'll be the customer in a different domain, or he'll be a vendor. Sometimes he might be a different organization as such for the same company. So there are lots of things that happens when you take in an enterprise, and when you relate with customers or vendors. So the consistency is not there. The data governance brings in the consistency with your data, and it also provides one more thing is called analytics accuracy. So whenever you take analytics, you will not know whether your analytics accurate. So if you take say, let's take a sales team and a marketing team. Okay, the marketing team says, you know what, we were marketing, we went for we reached 1 million people, and then we funneled that 1 million people to say 1 lakh people. But the point is, you cannot say that funneling is 1 lakh unless you sold something in sales, right? So then there is no point in reaching 1 million people if you don't convert that into 5% of your sales. Okay, so those kind of analytics can be accurate when you have a data which is both say marketing and sales can lie with each other and properly manipulated. So that is when you can say that whole campaign is successful. Otherwise, there is no point in saying whole campaign is successful. Marketing will say we reached 1 million. What's the point in reaching 1 million as long as you don't get any sales? Okay, so analytics has to be accurate, and the data governance will help you to build a better accuracy, and it removes silos. So again, I can tell you that I can use the same sales and marketing example. And the marketing team can say, I did a great campaign, and then the campaign is very successful. We reached 1 million, but the sales is almost zero. So what's the point? What's the point in reaching 1 million if your sales is not right? The whole point of doing marketing campaign is what? To get sales, right? More revenue, so that the company can run. So that removes silos. Silos is nothing but having your organization built in small chunks where everybody does their old job. But in case of if you want to have a overall picture or holistic picture of what you want, or is there any improvement in the company, there won't be any improvement, because there will be group of experts who are best in they're doing whatever they are doing, but the output will be nothing for the company. Okay, so the marketing will say, you know what, we had we reached 1 million people. Sales might say, you know what, we sold mm, uh, for 1,000 people. They can, if you see 1,000 people at the same time, it might be a huge thing. But when you compare with the marketing, what happens? We reached. They say we reached 1 million, but the tunneling is not even 1%, right? So that is the whole point of talking in that. So they say the marketing campaign is successful. Sales will say a marketing campaign is successful. It builds a silos, right? Silos is nothing but a group of people sitting to each other who don't talk to each other. So when there is no comparison between those two, marketing and sales, there is no point in the saying that sales is high or marketing is high. Only when you say there is a 1 million, say 1 million reach, and we have funneled them or sold 10% of it, then you can say it is a successful campaign, correct? So that is how it has to be. So the silos is not in with respect to the numbers in that organization, rather than throughout the company. Okay, better collaboration. Again, we can take the same sales and marketing. When there is a data governance and you say, you know what, I need a conversion rate. Okay, I don't want the click rate. Okay, so there is a click rate and conversion rate. You can say the marketing has done a SMS campaign or a website campaign. The 1,000 people, I mean 1 million people came into our website. What is the conversion rate? How many bought your product? Then this is where, if you have a better analytics and data governance system, you will be able to collaborate better. You can actually adjust the campaign back and forth. You can know which works and which is not working. You can concentrate on more strategy that is working. So that is where the data governance comes in. And better PI governance. PIA is nothing but personally identifiable information. What it means is, I'm going to talk a little bit more on this. PII is, the problem with PII is, there will be multiple products, multiple customers, multiple clients, multiple vendors. Okay, everybody will be giving us a personal data to everyone. So there is a personally identifiable data, meaning phone numbers, email IDs. Those are all personally identifiable numbers to us. But the point is, when in case of GDPR and any other law that's going to come for any other European or US or Indian government, the whole point base and underlying base of any data protection law is to remove the personal identifiable information whenever the user asks to be removed. It. What does it mean is, so say I have come to your company and then I have given my phone numbers, email address, and there is a normal transaction going on. I buy certain things from you, and then after a point I become a customer which I want to leave your company. Okay, so I saying, okay, you know what, remove me from your system. You should be in a place where if I remove myself in the system, it should be removed completely from your system, meaning should be removed even from the logs, even from the any of your tables. What it means is, does not mean that you will remove all the already existing invoice or any other data. We will only remove the data which is personally identifiable, meaning if you have saved my phone number, if you have saved my email ID, that can be removed in the from the system. Okay, but there can be multiple invoices that will be available, but that can be left alone. But as long as I am removing myself a customer, that those data should be removed. That's the whole point of GDPR. The another main point is, say there are two different systems that gets sales to you. One might be through a normal website, and one might be through, say, referral system, which acts like I say through paper or any other system. What happens is, what if one system saves a credit card, other system also saves a credit card, but the whole company will not know where both the credit card are being saved. Okay, so if we want to say implement certain compliances, meaning the compliances on every credit card should be encrypted with say 64-bit or some algorithms. Okay, now if I don't know where all my credit card details are saved, since the company is a huge company which has multiple vendors, multiple customers, multiple departments of customers, we will not know what it is, right? So if I want to implement that encryption of the credit card number, I will not be able to do it. The same way, say, what if the government says CVV number cannot be saved? So you have to check whether any of the departments saves the CVV. Okay, so those are the PII governance which we need to do, which might not be possible if you don't have a proper data governance. It becomes a nightmare for all the people between developers, infrastructure guys, database administrators, and also the product owners. So a better data governance will build you a consistent data, will give you proper analytics. We saw an example with sales and marketing. It will remove also the silos. It will give you better collaboration because you can measure exactly what is needed for the company, rather than every silo talking about their own performance but does not make any meaning or value to the company. Okay, and better PII governance. Okay, right. So we spoke about data governance. Let's see what is data governance. So data governance is a process of managing the availability, usability, and integrity and security of the data. It's nothing but the data should be available, it should be usable, it should be integrity. Integrity means it should be, whenever I say integrity means those are all rock solid data. It is not corrupted or being screwed up. And security, the people who don't have access to the data should not have access to data. Okay, and it's based on some internal data standards and policies. So the main point is it should be available, it should be usable, it should be a proper data integrity I data, and security it should be secure. Okay, that's the whole point of data governance. It's a 4 point: availability, usability, integrity, and security. So, okay, so we spoke about data governance. We saw different use cases for data governance. We saw why you need data governance. We saw what is data governance. So these are all we saw, right? So we compared, we used the sales and marketing example, saying that how yes, marketing is converted to sales, and how I can do a proper analytics on it, how I can remove the silos from my system, making sure that sales and marketing team work together to get a proper customers, selling proper things to customer, so if I, and adjusting their campaign accordingly so that they know what is exactly happening or not. Okay, so you saw that data governance, it is all fine, which is good. Okay, so why Azure Purview? So the whole point, the topic is data governance using Azure Purview, right? So why Azure Purview? So why should I use Azure Purview for data governance? Azure Purview is very powerful tool which is still in beta. It gives you a unified data governance, meaning one place where you can have a data governance in anywhere. Okay, so right now, if you want to do the proper data governance, you have to do lots of things manually and automating things. But Azure Preview takes off all the problems, and Microsoft is also one of the kind of say uses the Azure Purview in a different way. So they are using a product in a different way, and then they have ported this to Azure Purview. So most of the things, whatever that is come into the product, is actually almost field tested by Microsoft, by their own people. So it's a good thing to have a good product to use, because it's already field tested. It is not something in beta, but it's also field tested by Microsoft. It's eating your own dog food, right? That's the point. And my Azure Purview also supports multi-cloud, meaning you can have multiple connectors to your data. Your data can be in on-prem, it can be in AWS, it can be in GCP, it can be in Alibaba, it can be in your system that is lying in your backyard. So it can be any system, can be any system. It gives you a connector for every system. It is a SaaS product. Okay, so it's basically a software as a service, so which is a great thing for anyone, because you don't have to manage or maintain or do anything with your VM. You just click few clicks and then it will be ready. If you don't want, you can delete, and you don't have to pay anymore. That is a huge great thing with any SaaS product. If you want, use it. Otherwise, you can leave that as it is. Azure Purview also does one more thing. It's called automated data discovery. So once I connect my data, so we'll see lots of examples on that, how we do it. So once I connect my data, what will happen is it will automatically discover data, what data it is, what type of data it is, how to classify it, how to see the lineage, how to see the assets, how to build a glossary. So you can do all the stuff in Azure Purview. So Azure Purview is one of the major uh, major main thing is it discovers your data automatically, and it's very seamless also. So one more thing with Azure Purview, it gives you an end-to-end data lineage. Okay, so data lineage, what is data lineage? Data lineage is nothing but finding a track of the data. Okay, so where the data started, how it got transformed, and how it is right now. So that is called lineage. So you can see the history of data transformation. So I'll show. We'll be seeing an example also on how this is being done. Okay, right. Okay, so we saw why, we saw what is data governance, we saw why, and we saw what. Okay, the main point of data governance, Azure, okay, well, let's see what is Azure Purview. Okay, one second. So what is Azure Purview? Azure Purview catalogs the business and technical users. Okay, it's nothing but Azure Purview gives you a catalog of information. Okay, it gives you it can be used to put a filter on it. You can build various glossary, classification, sensitive, sensitive data. Okay, so Azure Purview Data Map also provides a foundation for data discovery and effective data governance. Okay, the Purview is basically a PaaS service. You don't have to maintain anything. It can be connected to multiple databases. It will automatically scan your classification system, Azure Purview. Okay, and it will also give you APIs which you can use to REST because it uses the open source Apache Atlas Standards API to get your data. The main concept of the Azure Purview is one more thing is you can see the lineage of data assets. Okay, on operation system, it can be on-premise, it can be multiple data. The data is not moved, only the metadata is always moved. So the processing is always happens in the processing metadata happens in the system, and it's more almost like an Power BI system, which is more powerful than Power BI. Okay, let's create one more Azure Purview now, so you'll be understand what I'm talking about, and also we'll be able to see the yeah. Let's go ahead and create one Azure Purview. So if you want to create Azure Purview account, right? So it has to validate. The point is you have to make sure that certain things are enabled. Okay, it's not valid. Okay, fine. Okay, so it says my quota is over. Okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to delete one. Can I delete it? Okay, let me create now. Mm-hmm. If it does it again, what I'll do is I'll create in a different account. I'll go ahead and change the subscription. key is valid. Started perform. Okay. Perfect. Okay. So this is the way you created. Let's use the one which is already there. It's giving me some weird error. Okay. So we already created one. Let's use this. Okay. Before diving into that, so that's the way you created. The main thing you need to do is a couple of things. One more thing is you need to make sure you enable the purview somewhere. Okay. So go to the subscription and there is something called resources provider. Okay. And then you have to make sure that purview is registered. Okay. It will not be registered initially. You have to click register here. And same way you have to do it for event hub also. And then same way you have to do it for storage. Okay. So these three things you need to enable before creating Azure Purview. Okay. So let's use the one which is already there. So let's see demo one. Okay. That's probably the new one which I created right before that, right before the this event. Okay. Let's go ahead and switch back to the yeah. Okay, fine. So we saw what is data governance. We saw why data governance. We saw why Azure Purview. We also saw a demo on how to create a purview. Okay, so before diving into detail of how to create one or how to use one, let's see what are the problems right now with the data governance and data consumers, producers, and the security administrators. Okay. One second. Okay, so the first as a data consumers, what is data consumer? Consumer is nothing but who uses the data, right? What are the challenges that are faced by data consumers are there is no central location for one guy to get the data. So what if he wants to see the overall um, overall overall sales for the company and how much we have spent for marketing and also sales, and how much we have spent for say IT. So there is no one center location. He can build a chart on it. He has to depend on different departments to get the data, and then he has to analyze and then see, okay, you know what, the total expenditure is say this much. Okay. But if there is a central location, it will be easy, right? So, and there is an ignorance of data location. The people will not know where are the data available. So I am like, okay, where is my marketing data available? What if I want to build a dashboard that is seen by my CEO, and if that guy wants to know what is the connection string of the other data, you will not be able to see. And if you want to even know what are the schema of the data, he doesn't know, right? So that there is a like huge problem with being dependent on that. That guy will say, no, I will give you an Excel. And those are the problems if you want to build a one single dashboard where the data has to be in a location is ignorant to many. Okay. Another thing is dispersed data location. Sometimes the data will be in on-prem, sometimes data will be in GCP, sometimes it will be sitting in someone else's desktop, sometimes it will be sitting in someone else's Fox Pro machine. It can be multiple things. So the data is always dispersed, and there is no one place where I can go and fetch data. Okay. When there is another thing is SME inavailability. So subject matter expert is very less, right? So what if I want to know, okay, what are these data I have to see, what is okay, I have a connection string, I can connect the data, so I want to know what are these table. Okay, do I have a single place where I can go and find out what is the data is all about? There is no. So I have to dig through their SharePoint or their CRM or their CMS to figure out what is available, and then I need to find SME. That the SME might be available, might not be available. I will not be able to, with just seeing the data, I will not be able to understand what it means. Those information only will be known to the user alone. So that is it's kind of a real pain when you have the data but you don't know what it is. Next thing is ignorance of data request process. Okay, fine. I have a proper center location. There is center location. There is data dispersed, and you also found out what is SME. But you will not know how to request the data, right? Whom should I go and ask for this data? okay, is this the CEO, the powerful guy who will be able to do it, or is the guy who has a proper access to the data does it? So these are the problems there, where there is a problem to request, right? So I don't know whom to ask for certain data. So there is no central location. Again, it all boils down to there is no one central location for knowing or getting the data. The next challenges by producers are, producer is not nothing but someone who actually produced the data. Maybe the marketing department who pushes the number of people they reached, or the sales department who sells it to the customer and then make money out of it. So those are the guys who are the producers of data. So what are the problem is the metadata unavailability, meaning they will not have a metadata of other resources. Okay, and the documentation is hard. If their current data, they cannot have a proper documentation, because maintaining the documentation or creating a documentation for the data is hard, because a new column might be added, new column might be removed, or it can be new compliances might be coming up, and then you need to update that. So, and maintaining the documentation is also another headache, because again, I told you that changes in the business makes, or the compliances helps us, makes the documentation process extremely hard. You keeping up with the speed of the business changes and also documenting the same is kind of a puts a barricade on the speed of the features that can be released, or the speed of that business that can be done. Okay, so next is the restricting access. What is mean by restricting access is, so what if I have a group of data, but I don't want to let certain people not to see it? How can I give certain data but not give certain data? So those are all the problems coming up. And duplication, same data is copied everywhere, and there is duplication was a evil before. Right now, with the current architecture, it is not evil, but still, I would say rather than duplication, I would say stale data, where the data is old, or finding out whether the data is stale or not is again a great problem. Or keeping the data up to date is a huge challenge for the producers. Okay. Next is security administrators. Okay, it's a normal problem with security administrators. They have to make sure the compliance is right. They have to make sure that everybody who has the data in the system follows the compliances. And it's a nightmare to talk to every single team and figuring out, okay, they have followed the compliances or not. Doing an audit for every team. So you do say it takes 6 months to do an audit. Again, the complaints might change. So it's a different audit again. 6 months to do an audit. It's a different audit again. Before you finish that overall audit and say, okay, you know what, we are compliant on this, and compliance will change, and you have to do it. You will be always uncompliant to the compliances that comes from the government. And giving proper data access is also a problem. Constantly monitoring data access is again a huge problem, because you never know whether they are encrypting the credit card numbers or not for every databases they have, because new projects comes in. You have to make sure that their database is being uh, monitored, and there are they properly saving the credit card information or any PII information properly, whether the data is saved in the on-prem. Say if it's in case of China, they have to make sure that the China data does not leave their country. So those are the normal problems that comes in security administrators with respect to data. They keep on doing a police work here and there with a very huge effort. Okay, so these are the challenges that comes in with respect to consumers, with respect to producers, with respect to the security administrators. So these are the lots of problems that comes in. We have to make sure that these should be handled. Okay, so that is where our Azure Purview comes in. There is a certain number of features that is available in Azure Purview that will help you to solve all these problems. They have given it a proper name. They have made sure that they have think through lots of problems, and they have actually come up with certain solutions. We will look into that one by one, and we'll also make sure that we answer your questions. If you have if you have any questions, please let us know. Liz, is there any questions? Liz and Amal, is there any questions that is up? Do you want to answer it?
No questions as of now, Karthik.
Okay, fine. So I'll move ahead with the slide. Thank you. Fine. So let's do. So we created an Azure Purview. So what all we saw first? We saw why Azure, why data governance. We saw what is data governance. We saw why Azure Purview and what is Azure Purview, and also we saw challenges that is being faced by the producer, consumer, and security administrator. We're gonna knock off the problems one by one. We're gonna see that how Azure Purview solves those problems. Okay, fine. So main features we need to see here is data lineage, asset details, schema, and classification. What are these four? I probably we spoke about data lineage before. So the data lineage is nothing but tracking the data transformation, or how the data starts and how right now it is, or what are the transformation it went through. Okay, to know the transformation is actually a huge information, because you will know where the data came from. You will also know how the data is being transferred. Why the transformation is known, need details of knowing the transformation is because we can remove lots of fallacies and bias from the data if we know, if there is a track of history on how the data was changed. Say, what if the data has been changed from one type to another, or say, let's say there was a machine learning algorithm that ran, and then there was one prediction that happened, and after that prediction, what happened is there were like few things, few decision has been made. Okay, and then we realized, you know what, past 5 years we made lots of decisions, but seems like it was 70% accurate, but 30% it is not right. What did we do on that? How did we actually came to that problem? Or right now the environment has changed. How can we make sure that there is some certain bias that is being inside the algorithm or inside the data transformation is there? How can I see what was that transformation that happened previously? There, what happened is, okay, you know what, let's do some analytics, do some analysis, come up with an Excel. Okay, after that, once the Excel has come, we just target on those problems, on those customers, and then we'll move forward. Okay, but can we use the same history of how we came to the solution? It is not, it will not be available. So Azure Purview gives you a place where you can actually see, you know what, these are the transformation happened, these are the things that happened, these are departments who did this, did that, and this becomes that. So these are the main lineage that is being solved with respect to Azure Purview. And we also see the assets details. We see what are the qualifications, what are the details available, what are the assets available, how would assets are classified, how assets are qualified, how many version assets went through, how many partition counts are there. So those are the asset details we will get. Schema is nothing but, you already know, as it sounds, it's a data schema. We'll know what is the data schema of the table just by looking at it, rather than going and logging into the table data and then making sure what are the schema for multiple departments, right? Classifications is a beautiful feature that is available in Azure Purview. What it does is it has its own algorithm to run on certain data structures or data types, where it classifies them as a proper, say, whether it's email address, credit card, phone number, or financial. You can also add glossaries to it and then say, you know what, classify to this. And after that, those details will be classified based on your business, which is being created by you. Okay. So these are the four things we're going to see with respect to with respect to Azure Purview. It is data lineage, its assets, schema, and classifications. Okay, let's jump right into the demo. Okay, so let's open the Azure Purview. So this is one which is created before the sun. Let's see it works. Okay, if it works till this end, I think it should be okay. So this is the new layout that is available in the Azure for registering the resources. Okay, so there are multiple things: home, and this is to browse your sources, and this is a glossary, this is an insights. Okay, this is another management center where you can manage the classifications, do data factory, and all this stuff. Okay, so let's jump one by one. Okay, before that, fine, let's first start with registering the sources. Okay, registering the sources is nothing but adding sources to the Purview, meaning there can be multiple sources. It can be on-prem, it can be Azure subscriptions, it can be GCP, it can be any system that's, sorry, fine. So let's go ahead and add a resource. I'm going to delete this guy. I was testing this. Let's add a couple of them. So, okay, I'll go ahead and create. Okay. So I will add one blob storage. So what you can do is you can select subscriptions here and then say ADC demo blog. Probably it works. So I want to scan it. I'm just setting a school set. Okay. The point is, this is a good one where you can actually scan the sources. Okay. So the what data govern Azure Purview does is it will not scan all your data and scan your data and then bring all the copy of your data. It will not do that. Okay. So data will still reside there. It will only scan to figure out how it can build a glossary, how it can build a lineage, how it can build a asset details. Okay. Other data will still be available on that. Whenever you query it, it will come connect and get the data, but the metadata will be saved into the Purview so that you can do lots of business-based decisions based on the schema and then run a query and get the data. So you can scan it once in a while, or you can scan it every 15 days. So whenever there is a change in the product or features which is done by the developers, they can still do it. So I can either set recurring and then say do it every 15 days. Right now I'm not going to do that. I'm going to set it as once. Okay, and then I'm going to run this. Okay, so let's go ahead and add one more. I'm going to add Gen2 data lake. I'm going to pick the same thing. Okay, I'll register. Okay, now I've said for a new scan. Yeah. Okay, good. So this is a problem that comes in if you don't give access to it, right? So what you have to do is, so what it happened right now is, you have to give that resource. I have to give Purview the access to scan that resource, right? So that is the problem here. It says connection failed because there is no access to it. So you just click this, and then you have to make sure that this is managed entity name of the Purview. You copy it. Okay. Go back to the storage account. And yeah, probably this. Yeah. Click on IAM access. It will take a while for the access to be there. Maybe like 2 minutes. So I'm going to give it right now. I just didn't give it before so that this error should come. So you'll know what I'm talking about. So copy it here. Okay. Okay. And then that's a name I copied from your manage entity name. Meaning this manage entity name is nothing but the name of the Purview. So we are giving storage access to storage data gen v2 device, saying that, you know what, please scan me, allow him to scan you. Okay, so let's go ahead and add that role. Probably it should come within a while. Most probably, sometimes it will not. It takes some time for that role assignment to propagate towards Purview. We'll see whether it's we are lucky enough to see it right now, or we'll see. I'm gonna click it. Okay, super. I'm gonna click continue. Probably it works. No, so it takes some time. Let's try again. There, demo one is here. He has access to storage container. Yes. Okay, this is going to take a while. We'll try again after some time. Let's leave it as it is. Okay, let's see whether the scan is complete. Okay, new scan. No. Yeah. So scan is still in progress. What I'll do is we'll go ahead and again try whether we can connect this guy, scan this guy. Mhm. Mm, It takes little bit time for this to propagate. Mm, mm. Okay, let's wait for some more time. Okay, let's go ahead and see this guy has scanned it already. Okay, still in progress. Okay, so let's wait for that for a while. And in meanwhile, what you can do is you can actually check for your resources. Say search for GAB. So what it will do is it will list all the assets that are available. Right now, this scanning is happening, so it is not showing anything. Otherwise, you will see all the resources that those are all available. Let us wait for some time. Hmm, scan is still sorry.
Hey Karthik, you are on mute.
Okay, fine. So I'm gonna do the same. Okay, I'm going to refresh that. Okay, let's see. Let's try again. So it's gonna take a while. Okay, let's go ahead and see browse assets. Okay, because it's still running. Oh, it's still queued. Okay, it's in progress. Need to wait for a while. Mm, let's see if this guy can do something. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open the one which is already there, I guess, and then see we can let's let it take time. Which I'll use the one which is already created. Mm, probably that's not the one I deleted it. Okay. Oh no. Probably that's the one I deleted it. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. Fine. So this is how it will look after every scanning is done. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and click on the um, ADS account, and I can see the all the details that comes in. Okay, and I also can see whether okay what is my say contest of gross profit is. Okay, so we saw right. So now we able to, so if you want to do a description on the type, I can actually put a details here. Okay, this uh, collects collects all the information about the profit of the counter show company, and also I can classify it to some say financial uh, national ID is Finland national ID is available, or any other details you want I can give you. Okay, and then you can give a like proper glossary term. We'll see that later if we have any time. Okay, so now it's classified on that. I told you right. You can see the lineage. Okay, so lineage right now for this it is not available, but you will be able to see the lineage properties also. uh, Meaning there is a say the data comes from here, and then qualified name is partition count is 3. This details is there. The total size of the whole uh, data is this, and schema you can see. So the next thing I saw told you about is the classification, right? It actually classifies automatically that this is a email address, okay, and also classify this is a person's name, okay. Same way you can also see the credit card type column. What are the details? You can add actually context to it. You can give people, say, somebody can access it or not. You can select it from your system. You can give lots of access to it. So all these are possible through the purview. So what are the problems we solved? The problem with consumer is basically one single point is not available. That right now with the data things, everything is available in one single point. You can one another major problem was giving access. So you can actually give access using the contacts, and probably with the lineage. One second, the lineage should be there. I don't know why it is not here. This data do have a lineage. I don't know what's not possible. Mm, okay. Let me check. Let me find a data which has a lineage. So lineage is nothing but a column which will be there. Lineages. Browse assets. Storage account. We'll see whether this guy comes up with some lineage. Gross profit probably. Or no. Okay. Let me show how it will look like. So okay, so this is how it will probably will look like. So you can see that CSV is copied to some data and then it is made as a baseball CSV and then made into a customer model and there's a Power BI and then this is converted into a PBIX file. So whenever the data is converted from one format to another, it actually goes into that. You can see how it went from one form to another. So that is a beautiful thing with respect to lineage. I'm not sure why that browse asset did not give me a lineage to it. So you can all in the same place, you can see multiple data, you can give access to it. You can, as I told you, so these are the four features we saw, right? Data lineage we saw, asset details I can add, you can see the schema which we saw, and classification we saw, right? Classification, it automatically classifies the data into email names. And we can also classify the data into lineage name. Say, let's say schema is there. So I can say this is win number, right? I can say, let's go ahead and classify it to something else. I can edit it and I can classify this column as a, say, some kind of PII. So it's like a win number of some country. Okay. So I can actually say that. So now it becomes a classification. I can search for it and then do whatever I want to. You can also add lots of glossary to it. So I can add glossaries. I can find the classifications. So those are the things you can do with respect to this. So we saw data lineage, we saw asset details, we saw schemas, and we saw classifications. Okay, so most of the things are done automatically. We did not do much. We just connected to this database, and all others are taken care by the Azure Purview itself. Fine. I think the demo wise is done. Due to lack of time, I'm going to stop it right now.